जय दोस्तों, इस वीडियो में बात करें क्वेश्चन नंबर 26। पूछा गया है झारखंड अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर हार्नेसिंग रूरल ग्रोथ जोहार प्रोजेक्ट इज फंडेड बाय विच इंस्टीट्यूशन। तो इसका सही जवाब है वर्ल्ड बैंक। तो वर्ल्ड बैंक जो है झारखंड अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर हार्नेसिंग रूरल ग्रोथ जोहार प्रोजेक्ट इज फंडेड बाय द वर्ल्ड बैंक। वर्ल्ड बैंक provides financial and technical support to improve rural livelihoods, enhance farmer producer organization, and promote agricultural and non-farm sector growth in Jharkhand. Government of India supports rural development through various schemes, but Johar is not directly funded by the Government of India. It is implemented at the state level with external financial assistance. Government of Jharkhand is implementing agency of Johar project. It oversees execution through state department and institution, but it is not the primary funding institution. International monetary funds primarily provide financial assistance related to macroeconomic stability, balance of payment, and fiscal reforms, not rural development projects like Johar. Jharkhand Opportunity for Harnessing Rural Growth project is primarily funded by the World Bank with additional contribution from Government of Jharkhand. Government of India aligns with Johar aligns with India's broader rural development goals and the Government of India's National Rural Livelihood Missions. It is not directly funded by the central government. The Government of India's support is more in terms of policy alignment and framework for rural livelihood rather than direct financing of Johar. Government of Jharkhand contributes 30% of the project total outlay, supporting implementation locally through State Livelihood Promotion Society (Jpscpyq). However, this is supplementary funding, not the main financing source. World Bank, the primary funder, 70% credit assistance of Johar project is the World Bank, specifically through the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. The World Bank provides technical and financial supports to implement livelihood program, irrigation infrastructure, high value agriculture, and other intervention in Jharkhand. International Monetary Fund is primarily concerned with global financial stability and macroeconomic monitoring, not project level rural development financing in Indian states. Johar does not receive any funding or support from the IMF. 70% World Bank credit, 30% Government of Jharkhand contribution. Managed by JSLPS under the Department of Rural Development of the state. Targeting marginalized rural households, including women, SC and ST communities across 68 blocks in 17 districts of Jharkhand. This ensures that the primary institutional support for the Johar projects come from the World Bank, leveraging international expertise and funding for sustainable rural growth in Jharkhand. Question 27. Four different schemes at the local village development, that is Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, CM Smart Gram Panchayat Yojana, and MLA Adarsh Gram Yojana, have been integrated under Jharkhand Integrated Adarsh Gram Yojana. Jharkhand Integrated Adarsh Gram Yojana was launched to integrate four-level village level development schemes: Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, CM Smart Gram Panchayat Yojana, MLA Adarsh Gram Yojana. The objective is converged, holistic and coordinated development of village by avoiding duplication and ensuring effective use of resources. Jharkhand Intensive Adarsh Gram Yojana. It is not an official skill name of Jharkhand government. While intensive suggests focused development, no such integrated schemes exist under this title. At the local village level in India, several development schemes, including the Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, aims to promote holistic rural development. Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana is to develop selected gram panchayats into model village with holistic development covering social, economic, and infrastructure phases. Key feature of this Jharkhand Integrated Adarsh Gram Yojana is MP adopts villages and facilitates development through convergence of existing schemes and community mobilization. It focuses on education, health, sanitation, livelihood, governance, environmental sustainability, and social equity. It promotes values of Antyodaya, upliftment of the poorest, gender equality, social justice, and participatory governance. Implementations: village development plans prepared with community input, monitored by district collector and respective MPs. Creation of benchmark village serving as example for neighboring gram panchayat. दूसरा है महात्मा गांधी नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी एक्ट मनरेगा. Its objective is to provide some minimum 100 days of guaranteed wage employment to rural household willing to undertake unskilled manual work. Its key feature is to ensure economic empowerment through employment. It supports creation of double durable assets like road, irrigation channels, and water conservation structures. It promotes social security and inclusion, it is especially for vulnerable groups. Next thing is like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. To provide Pakka permanent housing with basic amenities to houseless household and families living in kacha or dilapidated houses. The key feature of it is to focus on improving housing, sanitation, and overall living standard. Its target is to cover includes rural poor families provide for housing assistance. Its work towards the reduction of regional disparities in housing. Next thing is like Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Its objective is to provide all-weather road connectivity to unconnected habitation as a strategy for rural poverty alleviation and socio-economic development. Its key feature is to ensure access to markets, healthcare, and educational infrastructure. Its implementation is to inform technical and management standard for rural road construction. It enhances mobility and facilitates integrated rural development and service delivery. These four schemes collectively address employment, infrastructure, housing, and holistic village development, with SSUI acting as a comprehensive Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana acting as a comprehensive framework that converges other schemes for model village creation. Additional notable schemes at the village level include Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramin Kaushal Yojana for skill development mission and Antyodaya for convergence of multiple programs, and Syama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission for developing urban clusters. Next question is 28. Consider the following regarding Abu Awas Yojana. It has been started on 15th August 2023. There is a provision to provide housing to those beneficiaries who have got houses under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So both are correct. The Abu Awas Yojana it has been started on 15th August 2023. The Abu Awas Yojana was launched by Government of Jharkhand on 15th November 2023, which is celebrated as Jharkhand Foundation Day on not on 15th August. तो गलत था. There is a provisions to provide housing to those beneficiaries who have got under house under the Pradhan Mantri. ये भी गलत. Abu Awas Yojana is specifically meant for eligible poor families who were left out of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It does not provide houses to beneficiaries who have already received housing under PMAY. The Abu Awas Yojana was officially launched on 15th August 2023 by Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren. The scheme is state-funded initiative under the Department of Rural Development, Government of Jharkhand. Next question is 29. Which of the following is not an objective of Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Yojana? First one is like plantation for production of silk. Second thing is like increasing the green area of the states to maintain environmental balance. The next thing is like groundwater protection through plantation, increasing the income of farmers through plantation on their land. So plantation for production of silk. This is wrong. Other are correct. So silk Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Yojana focuses on tree plantation on private and community lands to improve green cover, environmental balance, groundwater conservation, and farmer income. Silk production sericulture is not an objective of this scheme. It is covered under separate sericulture related scheme. Increasing the green area of the states to maintain environmental balance. This is a core objective of the scheme. Large scale plantation helps improve forest and tree cover and maintain ecological balance. Groundwater protection through plantation. Tree plantation helps in soil moisture retention and groundwater recharge, which is a stated environmental objective of the scheme. Increasing the income of farmers through plantation on their land. The scheme encourages plantation on farmers' private land, enabling them to earn income from timber, fruit, or other tree-based products. The Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Yojana scheme implemented by Jharkhand government primarily to encourage tree plantation on private lands, improve environmental sustainability, and support farmers' livelihood. Increasing green cover to maintain environmental balance by expanding green areas across the state. Groundwater conservation, promoting water conservation through tree plantation. Reducing pressure on public forest, encouraging Forests produce production in the private sector to reduce pressure on notified forest. Enhancing farmers' income. Supporting rural landowners and farmers to increase their income via tree plantation. Community participation. Encouraging public cooperation to expand forest cover. Some documents. Question 30. Which of the following district of Jharkhand has the largest area of very dense forest? Latehar. Chatra district has forest cover, but the proportion and area of very dense forest are comparatively lower than district like Latehar. Much of its forest is classified as moderately dense or open forest. Hazaribagh is known for its wildlife sanctuary and forested plateau, but its very dense forest area is limited due to urbanization, mining activities, and human pressure. Latehar district has the largest area of very dense forest in Jharkhand. It contains extensive stretches of the thick, saw, and mixed forest, including parts of Palamu Tiger Reserve, making it the richest district in terms of dense forest cover. Gumla also has significant forest cover, especially in tribal and hilly regions, but its very dense forest area is less than that of Latehar. Very dense forest is categorized as forest with tree canopy density greater than 70%. The question 6, the district with the largest absolute area of very dense forest in Jharkhand independent of percentage coverage. According to India's State of Forest Report 2023, Jharkhand total very dense forest area is 2635.35 km square. District wise very dense forest area highlights significant heavy forested area. पहला very dense forest area वेस्ट सिंहभूम 467.43 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर. दूसरा लातेहार 485.14 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर. पलामू 68.02 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर. रांची 63.57 किलोमीटर. ईस्ट सिंहभूम 53.52 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर. गुमला 308.47 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर. पश्चिमी सिंहभूम 440 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर. From the 2023 data, Latehar district has the largest area under very dense forest at 485.14 km square. West Singhbhum follow close with 467.43 km square, but it's smaller in absolute very dense forest area. This is consistent across multiple reports. ISFR 2017-21 data comes confirm Latehar as top ranked district by very dense forest area. The district of Jharkhand with the largest area of very dense forest is Latehar district. Very dense forest area is 485.14 km square. Percentage of district area under very dense forest approximately 11.3 to 12% from district area 4291 km square. Question 8 is according to India State of Forest Report 2021, what is the forest cover area in Jharkhand? 23,721 square kilometer. According to India State of Forest Report 2021, the total forest cover in Jharkhand was recorded as 23,721 square kilometer in the year 2021. This figure represents the extent of land in Jharkhand classified as forest under the survey criteria minimum 1 hectare in with a canopy density of more than 110%. 24,710 square kilometer not 23,721 square kilometer सही. The India State of Forest Report 2021 states that the Jharkhand has 23,721 square kilometer forest cover. India State of Forest Report 2021 provides detailed information on forest cover across all states of India. According to multiple sources, including official annexures and summaries, the forest covers in Jharkhand in 2021 is 23,721 square kilometer, representing 29.76% of its geographical area. The state shows an increase of 110 square kilometer in forest cover compared to ISFR 2019, are attributed to improved conservation, afforestation, and tree planning initiatives. Question number 32. Which article of the Indian Constitution provides the duties of state government to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife? Article 48A. Part of Jpscpyq clearly states that the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. This article was added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, reflecting India's commitment to environmental protection. 48A provides the duty of states to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard forest and wildlife. 48A of the Indian Constitution directs the state to endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country, placing the responsibility on state government for environmental conservation. 48A is a part of the DPSP contained in Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. It was added through the 42nd Amendment in 1976 in response to the growing environmental challenges and international concern following the 1972 Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment. States shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. This article places a constitutional duty on the states to take systematic steps for environmental protection, including forest, wildlife, and the general environment. Although it forms parts of the DPSP, it serves as a guiding framework of state policy, legislation, and environmental governance. Protection and improvement of the environment, including forest and wildlife. The state is required to endeavor, meaning it must actively take measures through immediate enforcement. Article 48 has inspired the passing of various environmental laws in India, such as Environmental Protection Act 1986, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, and Strengthening of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Integration with fundamental rights. That Supreme Court has connected Article 48 to Article 21 Right to Life, interpreting the right to a clean and healthy environment as an essential component of the right to life. Complementing Article 48, Article 51 imposes a corresponding duty on all citizens to protect and improve the natural environment. 48A represents India's constitutional commitment to sustainable development and ecological conservation. It guides state government in formulating environmental policies, in establishing pollution control authorities, and enforcing protecting measures. 48A is the constitutional provision that mandates state government to protect and improve the environment in India, forming the backbone of environmental governance and policy planning. Question number 33. Betla National Park of Jharkhand is spread over 226 square kilometer. Betla National Park in Jharkhand is spread over an area of approximately 226 square kilometer. This is the area officially notified as the national park portion within the large Palamu National Tiger Reserve. Betla National Park in Jharkhand is spread over about 226 square kilometer within the Palamu Tiger Reserve. Betla National Park in Jharkhand spans an area of approximately 226.32 square kilometers, making options. Betla National Park is the only national park in Jharkhand located mainly in Latehar and Palamu district. It was officially declared a national park in 1986 and forms part of the Palamu Tiger Reserve. The park's core area is 226.33 km square, which includes forest, grassland, rivers, and critical habitats for species such as tiger, leopards, elephant, bisons, and axis deers. Larger figure mentioned in some sources 979 to 1026 km square corresponds to the total area of the Palamu Tiger Reserve, which encompasses buffer zones, core zones, and other protected lands, not the Betla National Park alone. Question 34. What is the major contributing factor for the fast dwindling population of vultures in Jharkhand? Rampant use of drug livestock. The major reason for the rapid decline of vultures in Jharkhand across India is the use of veterinary drug, especially diclofenac, in livestock. When vultures feed on the carcasses of animals treated with diclofenac, they suffer acute kidney failure, leading to death. This has been scientifically proven and is the most significant cause of vulture population collapse. Hunting is not a major factor in the decline of vultures. Vultures are not commonly hunted for food or trade, and their population decline occurred even in areas where hunting pressure was minimal. Noise pollution in vulture habitat. Noise pollution may cause some disturbance, but it has no direct or large scale impact on vulture mortality or population decline compared to drug toxicity. Water pollution in vulture habitat. Water pollution is not identified as primary cause of vulture decline. Vulture mainly suffer due to toxic exposure from contaminated carcasses, not from water sources. Rampant use of veterinary drugs in livestock, especially diclofenac, is the major contributing factor for the fast dwindling population of vultures in Jharkhand. The precipitous decline of vulture population in Jharkhand, as in much of India, is largely linked to the use of veterinary drug diclofenac. This anti-inflammatory drug administered to livestock has lethal secondary impact on scavenging vultures. When vultures consume carcasses of animals treated with the diclofenac shortly before death, they suffer acute kidney failure leading to rapid mortality. This species toxicity has caused catastrophic reduction in vulture numbers across the subcontinent. Pharmacological toxicity. Diclofenac residues remains in the tissues of treated livestock. Vulture feeding on these carcasses accumulate the drug, which triggers visceral gout and fatal dental damage within the species. Most affected include the wide-rummed vulture Gyps bengalensis, Indian vulture Gyps indicus, and slender-billed vulture Gyps teoresis. Jharkhand, located within the Indian subcontinent high-density livestock zone, provides ample foraging opportunity for scavenging vultures. This proximity amplifies exposure risk, making diclofenac-related mortality the dominant driver over the other threats such as habitat loss, reduced carcass availability due to changing livestock disposal practices, habitat degradation from urbanization or deforestation, although less directly lethal than diclofenac, food contamination by other veterinary drugs, albeit at lower mortality rates. Ban on veterinary diclofenac in India 2004 with promotion of safer alternatives like meloxicam, vulture breeding and release program in Jharkhand and surrounding states, community awareness campaigns to monitor carcass management and prevent exposure to toxic drugs. While habitat loss and environmental change affects overall ecosystem health, the major contributing factor to the rapid decline of vulture in Jharkhand is poisoning from diclofenac contaminated livestock carcasses. Immediate and continued mitigation efforts, including regulatory enforcement and vulture safe veterinary practices, are essential to prevent local extinction. Question number 35. Damodar River has become biological deserts between Giridih and Durgapur because the existence of life is not possible in this area. The existence of life is not possible in this area. The stretch of the Damodar River between Giridih and Durgapur is called a biological desert because extreme industrial pollution from coal washeries, steel plants, power plants, and chemical industries have made the water toxic and oxygen deficient, making survival of aquatic organisms nearly impossible. The Damodar River has become a biological desert between Giridih and Durgapur because the existence of life is not possible in this water area due to severe pollution. A large amount of sand deposits in this water area. The Damodar River has become biological desert between. Question 36. In which of the following cities of Jharkhand was the first aerobic biotoilet inaugurated in 2018? Jamshedpur. The first aerobic biotoilet in Jharkhand was inaugurated in Jamshedpur in 2018 at the Jharkhand Skill Development Society premises in the Narga area of the city. 2018 Jharkhand Jamshedpur became the first city in Jharkhand to get an aerobic toilet as a part of sanitation improvement. The first aerobic biotoilet in Jharkhand was inaugurated in Jamshedpur in 2018. State Minister Saryura inaugurated the state's first aerobic biotoilet in Jamshedpur, located at the Jharkhand Skill Development Society campus in Narga. This biotoilet was designed to be deodorant-free and methane-free, converting human waste into water in a matter of a moment, without the need of conventional sewer lines or storage tanks. The initiative aims to promote environment-friendly sanitation and support Clean India initiative, providing a modern and hygienic facility suitable for public use. This project marks a significant step towards sustainable sanitation infrastructure in the state. Question number 7. Which of the following factors are damaging the biodiversity of Jharkhand? तो सभी होगा सही जवाब. Reckless urbanization, unplanned and unregulated industrialization, increasing population and decreasing forest. Reckless urbanization contribution factor. Rapid and unplanned urban growth in Jharkhand leads to habitat destruction, fragmentation of forest, loss of wetlands, and increased pollutions, all of which negatively affect biodiversity. Unplanned and unregulated industrialization. It is also the contributing factor. Jharkhand has extensive mining, steel, and power industries. When industrialization is unregulated, it causes deforestation, land degradation, air and water pollution, severely harming plants and animal life, increasing population and decreasing forest. It is also a contributing factor. Population growth increases pressure on natural resources. Forests are cleared for agriculture, settlement, and infrastructure, resulting in loss of wildlife habitat and decline in species diversity. Jharkhand, located in eastern India, is endowed with rich forests, mineral resources, rivers, and diverse ecosystem. However, its biodiversity is under severe threat due to a combination of related factors. Comprehensive studies or reports identify the following key driver of biodiversity loss. First one is habitat loss and fragmentation. Deforestation. Large-scale clearing of forests for mining, agriculture, and industrial development disrupts habitats. Fragmentation of ecosystem. Construction of roads, rail lines, dams, and urban expansion divides contiguous forest areas, reducing ecological connectivity and endangered placement of local communities. Mining and industrialization. Jharkhand mineral wealth, including coal, iron ore, copper, and uranium, fuels extensive mining. Mining operation cause deforestation, soil erosion, water and air pollution, and displacement of local community. Industrial expansion further exacerbates habitat degradation and destroys ecosystem crucial for endemic and endangered species. Pollution, soil, water and air pollution from industries, mining effluents and urbanization negatively impacts ecosystem health. Contaminated water bodies harm aquatic biodiversity, while airborne pollutant affects terrestrial species. Unsustainable resource use. Overexploitation of forests through illegal timber felling, firewood collection, medicinal plants, and fodder harvesting threaten regeneration capacity. Agriculture expansion with intensive practices alters native vegetation and impacts soil fertility. Overgrazing by free-range cattle causes further degradation of plant communities and forest understories. Invasive species. Introduction of non-native invasive species competes with native flora and fauna, altering ecosystem balance and reducing biodiversity resilience. Forest fire. Both natural and human-induced fires contributes to forest degradation, affecting species composition and habitat quality. Jharkhand has a high frequency of forest fires, affecting more than 67% of forest grid cells. Climate change. Shifts in temperature and rainfall pattern further stress ecosystem already weakened by human activity, impacting species survival and ecosystem services. Weak governance and policy implementation. Enforcement of environmental regulation, environmental impact assessment, and forest protection law is often inadequate. Land acquisition process for development project displace community and exacerbate habitat loss. Insufficient resources for monitoring and conservation efforts hinder effective biodiversity protection, anthropogenic conflicts, human wildlife conflict, and encroachment on forest land put additional pressure on wildlife. Urbanization and infrastructure development fragments habitat and reduce safe species for species. The combined effect of deforestation, mining, pollution, unsustainable resources, invasive species, fires, climate change, weak policy enforcement, and anthropogenic conflicts is driving a significant decline in biodiversity in Jharkhand. Endangered species include both fauna, tigers, elephants, sloth bears, and flora, medicinal plants like Raufolfia, Serpentia, Jorissia superba, Adata, Vasika, highlighting the urgent need for integrated conservation strategy, stronger law enforcement, community participation, and sustainable resource arrangement. Question number 30. What is meant by protected forest under the forest law? तो इसका जवाब है प्रोहिबिशन ऑन एक्टिविटीज विच आर नॉट परमिटेड. तो prohibition on all activity which are not permitted under the India Forest Act 1927. A protected forest is one where all activities are prohibited unless they are specifically permitted by the state government. This means only notified or allowed activities can be carried out. Under forest law, a protected forest means prohibition on all activity which are not expressly permitted by authority. A protected forest is an area of forest, land or waste land legally notified by the state government, in which the government holds proprietary rights and where use of forest resources is regulated to balance conservation with sustainable local use. Under Section 19 of the Indian Forest Act 1927, the state government may declare any of forest land or wasteland that is not a reserve forest, but is government property or over which the government has proprietary right as a protected forest. These lands are notified in the official gazette and are subject to provision allowing the government to regulate activities such as timber removal, grazing, or collection of forest produce. Key feature is limited protection. Protected forests are less restrictive than reserve forests. While reserve forests strictly prohibit activities like hunting, timber collection unless explicitly allowed, protected forests permit certain control activities for legal communities under regulatory conditions. State management. The government retains ownership and regulatory authority. It can make rules governing the cutting of trees, collection of forest resources, grazing, hunting, and other forestry operations. Community right. Traditional communities dependent on forest resources may exercise regulated rights for forest, firewood, grazing, and minor forest produce, provided these activities do not significantly harm the forest ecosystem. Notification and sub. Before declaring a forest as protected, the state government typically inquires into existing rights of government and private parties. Pending inquiries, land may still be declared protected so as not to infringe on existing rights. Regulatory power. The government can issue notification for reserving certain tree species or forest sections. Restrictions requiring lime burning cultivation. Regulating removal and trade of forest produce. Setting licenses for local or commercial utilization of timber and other resources. Penalizing violation with fines or imprisonment depending on the severity. Distinction from other forest categories. A protected forest represents a balance between conservation and sustainable utilization of forest resources, with the government ownership and regulatory oversight allowing control human activities. It enables local communities to use forest resources responsibly while ensuring ecological protection, distinguishing it from the more restrictive reserve forest and the community managed village forest. Question 39. Which of the following is the major effect of water pollution? Lack of oxygen for aquatic life. Lack of rain is mainly related to climatic factors, deforestation or climate change, not a direct effect of water pollution. Abundance of salt in water. Excess salt salinity may occur in specific cases like seawater intrusion or industrial discharge, but is not the major general effect of water pollution. Lack of oxygen for aquatic life. Water pollution increases organic waste and nutrients in water, leading to eutrophication. This causes excessive growth of algae, which consumes dissolved oxygen. When it decomposes, results in oxygen depletion. As a result, fish and other aquatic organisms die due to lack of oxygen. The major effect of water pollution is lack of oxygen for aquatic life. The major effect of water pollution is the contamination of water sources, which poses a serious risk to human health and disrupt aquatic ecosystem. Human health impacts. Contaminated water is a primary source of waterborne disease such as cholera, typhoid, dysentery, hepatitis A. Drinking Drinking or using polluted water can expose humans to toxic substances, including heavy metals like lead and mercury, pesticides, and industrial chemicals, which may cause neurological disorders, liver and kidney damage, reproductive issues, and even cancer. Children, pregnant women, and vulnerable populations are particularly at risk as exposure and affect development and overall health. Environmental effects. Water pollution severely harm aquatic ecosystem. Excess nutrients, particularly from agricultural runoff, led to eutrophications, promoting algal blooms and that deplete oxygen in water and create dead zones where most aquatic life cannot survive. Toxic chemicals and microplastic accumulate in aquatic organisms, disrupting food chains through bioaccumulation and biomagnification, ultimately affecting larger animals, including humans who consume contaminated seafood. Polluted water also damage habitats, reduce biodiversity, and alter natural ecological balances. Water pollution has substantial economic impact. It affects fisheries and aquaculture, reduces recreational opportunities, requires expensive water treatment, and can damage agriculture through polluted irrigation. Water communities reliant on clean water for livelihood or tourism may face significant losses. Additionally, untreated pollution can strain healthcare system due to rising incidence of water-related disease. In essence, while water pollution has numerous consequences, the central effect is the contamination of water, which endangered human health, disrupts ecosystems, and leads to economic and social changes. Mitigating these impacts require effective wastewater treatment, pollution regulation, sustainable agricultural practices, and public education. Question 40. How much incentive amount is given by the government to any beneficiaries who plant tree on his private land under Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Yojana? 75% of the total cost at the approved rate of this scheme. Under the Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Yojana, beneficiaries who plant trees on their private land receive an incentive equal to 75% of the expenditure incurred on plantation and its maintenance, based on the approved rates for the scheme. This reimbursement is provided by the government of Jharkhand to encourage private participation in afforestation efforts. Under the Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Yojana, the government reimburses 75% of total cost at the approved rate to the beneficiaries who plant and maintain trees on their private land. According to the available sources, government tree plantation schemes in India. Green Credit Program. Under the central scheme, individual or entities planting trees can earn green credits, which are awarded at 1 credit per tree planted, subject to a minimum density of 1,100 trees per hectare. These credits can be traded or used for environmental compliance purposes. While Green Credit Program focuses on tradable environmental credits rather than direct cash incentives, it represents a formal recognition and benefit for tree plantation efforts. State level incentives for private land plantation. Jharkhand Mukhyamantri Jan Dhan Scheme. Promote tree plantation on private lands to enhance farmers' income and reduce pressure on natural forest. 75% of the cost of plantation and maintenance over 3 years paid in promotion to be survival of the planted sapling. Farmers or land owners with 0.5 to 50 acre of verifiable land. Chhattisgarh Mukhyamantri वृक्षारोपण प्रोत्साहन योजना. Incentive for plantation or revenue फॉरेस्ट राइट्स लैंड 10,000 पर एकड़ पर ईयर पेड फॉर 1 से 3 ईयर based on survival and success of plantation. Gujarat rehabilitation of degraded farmland. Plantation on private farmland up to 1 hectare per beneficiary. Post plantation care incentives are linked to the survival of trees for the first 3 years with compensation paid at the end of the year. Kerala incentivization of private forest. Financial incentives vary based on the number of trees and selected species. Specific amounts depend on plantation plan and species chosen. Common features across schemes. Incentives are generally linked to survival of trees over 1 से 3 years. They may cover a percentage of cost, typically 50 से 75% or a fixed rate percent per acre per tree. Beneficiaries are required to maintain the plantation, often with a periodic verification by forest officials. Example summary for a beneficiary on private land. If a farmer in a Jharkhand plant trees under Mukhyamantri Jhanban scheme, pays for 100% of initial plus plantation cost, receives 75% reimbursement over 3 years, depending on tree survival. In Chhattisgarh, planting trees on commercial revenue land can yield 10,000 per acre after 1 year, continuing annually if the plantation is successful. Question 41. Which of the following institution conducts technical and instructive work regarding flood disaster in Jharkhand? Birsa Jharkhand Space Application Center. So Birsa Agriculture University, it is the university which focus on agriculture, education, research and extension related to farming, crop, soils and animal sciences. While it may study issues like rainfall or water management for agriculture, it does not conduct technical and instructive work specifically on flood disaster management. Indian School of Mines, now IIT Dhanbad, primarily focuses on mining, earth science, engineering, and technological education. Although it studies geology and environmental engineering, flood disaster management is not its designated institutional role of Jharkhand. Indian Institute of Management, IIM, focus on management education, administration, policy, and leadership. They do not engage in technical or instructive disaster-related fieldwork such as flood monitoring or mapping. Jharkhand Space Application Center is the nodal agency for remote sensing (GIS) and space technology application in Jharkhand. It conducts technical and instructive work related to flood disasters such as flood mapping, monitoring, use of satellite imagery and GIS, disaster preparedness and assessment, reports to government department during natural disaster. The Jharkhand Space Application Center conducts technical and instructive work regarding flood disaster in Jharkhand. Jharkhand Space Application Center engages in flood disaster management through technical assessment, mapping and the use of geospatial technology. It supports the state government by providing critical data and guidance necessary for flood preparedness, mitigation and early warning system. This makes it is the key institution handling the technical and institutive work related to flood disaster in Jharkhand. JSAC used satellite imagery and GIS tools to monitor rivers, flood-prone areas, and rainfall patterns. Training and capacity building. The center provides instruction, technical trainings to government agencies and local authorities on mapping flood risk effectively. Disaster preparedness. Jharkhand Space Application Center contributes to formulating standard operating procedures and disaster management plans specific to floods, helping improve state-level disaster response. How it is distinct from other institutions? Birsa Agriculture University focus on agriculture and extension. Indian School of Mines primarily provides geoscience and engineering education. Indian Institute of Management Jharkhand specialized in management education and research. Question number 42. Which of the following is not the objective of disaster response? Vulnerability assessment. Vulnerability assessment is mainly part of disaster preparedness and mitigation phase, where risk and weakness are identified before a disaster occurs. It is not a response activity which focuses on immediate action after a disaster. Second thing is safety and security of human life. This is a primary objective of disaster response. Immediate rescue, evacuation, medical aid, and protection of affected people are core response activities. Housing and temporary accommodation for disaster affected peoples. Providing temporary shelters, relief camps, and basic living facilities is a key disaster response objective to support survivor after displacement.
restoration and maintenance of infrastructure. During disaster response, essential infrastructure such as roads, power supply, water, communication system are restored on priority basis to support rescue and relief operations. Disaster management typically involves three major phases. Pehla phase, pre-disaster, preparedness and mitigation. Activities in this phase include risk assessment, vulnerability analysis, early warning system, and planning to reduce potential disaster impacts. Vulnerability assessment is therefore a pre-disaster activity, not part of immediate disaster response. Second, during disaster response, the focus is on ensuring safety, providing a relief services such as food, shelters, and medicinal aid, and taking urgent action to protect life and property. The response phase includes immediate medical assistance, evacuations and rescue operation, distribution of relief materials, ensuring community safety and security. Next thing is post-disaster recovery and rehabilitation. This phase includes a long-term recovery, rebuilding infrastructure, and restoring normalcy to affected communities. Vulnerability assessment belongs to pre-disaster phase. Safety, relief, and recovery are direct objective of disaster response and post-disaster action. Question number 43. From the point of view of earthquake sensitivity, the entire stage of Jharkhand can be put in which seismic zone? Zone 2 and 3. Zone 1, seismic zone 1 represent areas with very low or negligible earthquake risk. Jharkhand does experience seismic activity, so the entire stage cannot be placed in zone 1. Zone 2, it is a low damage risk zone. Some parts of Jharkhand fall under the zone 2, but not the entire state. Zone 4. Zone 4 is a high damage risk zone, covering areas like Himalaya region and part of northeast India. Jharkhand does not fall under this high seismic risk category. So, zone 2 and 3. From the earthquake sensitivity point of view, Jharkhand is divided between zone 2, low damage risk, zone 3, moderate damage risk. Different regions of the state fall under these two zones according to the Bureau of Indian Standard Seismic Zoning Map. Step 1, understanding earthquake sensitivity. Earthquake sensitivity or seismic vulnerability measures a region's potential for damage from earthquake. It combines three components. Pehla, seismic hazard, likelihood and intensity of earthquake shaking due to tectonic setting, exposure, assets, population, and infrastructure present in the affected area. Vulnerability, social, economic, and structural susceptibility to damage captured by indices like social vulnerability, economic vulnerability, and recovery potential. India's seismic regions are classified using the Bureau of India's standard seismic zones. Zone 2 low hazard, Zone 3 moderate hazard, Zone 4 high hazard, Zone 5 very high hazard. Himalayan belt, नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न अंडमान एंड निकोबार आइलैंड. दूसरा स्टेप टेक्टोनिक कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ झारखंड. झारखंड इज लोकेटेड ऑन द छोटा नागपुर प्लेटू forming part of the stable Indian shield. It is distant from major convergent flat boundaries, Himalayas and subduction zones. Historical systematically low with earthquake generally of magnitude less than 5.0 causing limited loss. Empirical and regulatory classification. According to BIS, Jharkhand falls primarily in seismic zone 2, reflecting low seismic hazard. Vulnerability studies consider socio-economic factors, population density, building quality, preparedness. Jharkhand's urbanization is moderate and infrastructure is not concentrated in high-risk constructs. Earthquake resilience assessment classifies Jharkhand as having low earthquake sensitivity with no significant historical damage from moderate quakes. Question number 44. Which of the following tropical cyclones affect Jharkhand along with the coastal state in May 2021? Yes. Penny. Cyclone Penny occurred in May 2019 and mainly affected Odisha, West Bengal, and parts of Andhra. Its impacts on Jharkhand was minimal compared to yes. Bulbul. Cyclone Bulbul struck in November 2019, affecting West Bengal and Bangladesh. It does not significantly impact Jharkhand and was not a May 2021 cyclone. Yes. Cyclone yes developed in the Bay of Bengal in May and after making landfall near Odisha West Bengal coast, it moved inland and significantly affected Jharkhand, causing heavy rainfall, flooding damage to infrastructure and agriculture. Hudhud. Cyclone Hudhud occurred in October 2014, mainly affecting Andhra Pradesh and eastern India. It was not related to the May 2021 event. Tropical cyclones in India primarily impact the eastern coastal states including West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and the Union Territory of Puducherry, due to their location along the Bay of Bengal. Jharkhand, being an inland state bordering these coastal regions, occasionally experiences indirect impacts such as heavy rainfall, flooding, and disruption in transport during the inland movement of cyclones. From recent historical data, the notable tropical cyclones that affected Jharkhand along with the eastern coastal states include Cyclone Dana 24 मई को origin Bay of Bengal में फैलो. Impact on coastal state Odisha, West Bengal. Impact on Jharkhand heavy rainfall, risk of flooding, transport disruption, over 150 train cancelled. National and state disaster force were deployed for emergency preparedness. Wind speed 100 से 10 km per hour expected along coastal areas, causing peripheral impact. साइक्लोन रेमल 2024 के मई में लो कोस्टल स्टेट वेस्ट बंगाल उड़ीसा indirect inland impact heavy rain extending to Jharkhand and northeastern parts of India leading to local flooding fatality 19 को मोर लो इंडिया बांग्लादेश में साइक्लोन यस 2021 में लो उड़ीसा के भद्रक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में लैंडफॉल कर लो वेस्ट बंगाल एंड उड़ीसा heavily affected with the wind speed of 130 से 145 किलोमीटर पर आवर झारखंड में impact below it indicate flooding and heavy rainfall in north district due to the cyclone's inland penetration fatality 20 को मोर लो इंडिया बांग्लादेश में साइक्लोन अम्फान 2020 में लो extremely severe cyclone West Bengal Odisha extensive storm surge and flooding. Jharkhand impact heavy rainfall and place flood due to the cyclone moving inland affecting central and eastern India region. Fatalities 128 in India. Question 45. Which of the following is the most drought prone district of Jharkhand? Palamu. Ranchi district receives comparatively better rainfall and has forest cover and plateau topography that reduce extreme drought conditions. It is not the most drought-prone districts. Dhumkhala is in the Santhal Pargana regions, which receives moderate monsoon rainfall. Though droughts may occur occasionally, it is less drought-prone than Palamu. Palamu is the most drought-prone district of Jharkhand due to low and erratic rainfall, poor soil moisture retention, frequent drought-like conditions, dependence on rain-fed agriculture. Hazaribagh has relatively better rainfall and water availability compared to Palamu, making it less prone to severe drought. Based on multiple authoritative sources, including recent state disaster management, Jharkhand has 24 districts affected by drought to varying degrees. Among these, Palamu district consistently emerges as the most drought-prone regions. All 24 districts of Jharkhand are affected by drought, and Palamu districts most prone to drought. Other reports note that the district in Palamu and Santhal Pargana regions are particularly vulnerable due to rain-fed agriculture. Ranchi faces question 46. What is called Dhubia, Jharkhand? Marriage. Jharkhand has many traditional dances such as Chau, Jumar, Paika, Jomkat, but Dhobia is not a dance. Marriage. Jharkhand, especially among tribal and rural communities, Dhobia refers to a marriage ceremony or marriage-related custom. It is a locally used term associated with traditional marriage practices. Song. Jharkhand has a rich folk music tradition like Kharma, Jhumar, Sorai song, but Dhobia is not a song form. Tabla. Tabla is a classical percussion instrument used widely in Indian music, but it is not a thumb like Dhobia in Jharkhand culture. In Jharkhand, Dhobia refers to a folk dance performed during marriage ceremonies. In the cultural landscape of Jharkhand, Dhobia is associated with the weddings and is form of traditional folk dance. It is performed mainly during marriage occasions by both the groom's and bride's family. The dance involves participants forming semicircle or groups and moving rhythmically while holding hands, often accompanied by singing and lively musical instruments. This dance is closely related to Domkach dance, another Nagpuri dance common in the Jharkhand, which is performed during the wedding and includes energetic movements and satirical songs sung by participants. The women typically sings themselves while dancing in circle, making the event a joyous celebration of the marriage. The song associated with the marriage ritual is called Domkach, which is linked with the dance. Tabla is not specifically referred to. Dhubia. Question 47. Which district of Jharkhand was the main center of Birsa movement? Khunti. Khunti was the main center of the Birsa movement. Birsa was born in Uli Hatu village, Khunti district, and most of the movement's activities, religious reform, resistance against British rule, and opposition to exploitative systems were centered in this region. Palamu was not a major center of the Birsa movement. The movement was largely concentrated in the Munda-dominated area of southern Chota Nagpur. Ranchi, although Ranchi is historically important and close to Khunti, it was not the primary center of the Birsa movement. Gumla was affected by tribal movements, but the core and main base of Birsa's Munda movement remained in Khunti. The main center of the Birsa Munda-led Ulgulam movement was in the Khunti district of present Jharkhand. Birsa Munda was born 15 November 1875. Ulihato village of Koti district was a tribal leader from the Munda community who raised a significant tribal revolt against British colonial rule and exploitative policies, especially the introduction of Jamindari system that dispossessed the tribals of their communal land, ownership and subjected them to forced labor. He founded the Birsat sect and mobilized the Munda, Urao and Kharia tribes to reclaim their traditional rights over land, forest and governance. The revolts, also called the Ulgulan or the Great Tumult, primarily took place in the areas referred to as the Munda Belt, which included Koti, the main center, Thamar, Sarvada, Bandagaon, Balagaon. During the peak of the revolt in 1899 to 1900, thousands of tribal followers convened at key locations such as Dombari Buru Hill in the Koti, armed with traditional weapons to raise the British authorities, local landlords, and missionary establishments. Significance of Koti district. It was not only Birsa Munda's birthplace, but also the heart of tribal mobilization against British land and forest policies. Major events of the movement, including protests and attacks on authority representing colonial powers, were orchestrated from Koti and its surrounding villages. The movement led to eventual legal reforms, including the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act of 1908, which protected tribals' land rights, a legacy rooted in the uprising center in Koti. In conclusion, Koti district served as the epicenter of the Birsa Munda movement, with nearby regions like Thamar, Sarvada, Bandgaon forming the border area of tribal mobilization. This district remains historically significant for its central role in the Ulgran uprising and the tribal struggle for the self-rule and land rights in Jharkhand. Question 48. On which river of Jharkhand is Thilaiya hydroelectric project established? Balakad River. Bokaro River is a tributary of the Damodar River. Project like Bokaro Thermal Power Plant are associated with this river. But Thilaiya hydropower is not located in it. Kona River hosts the Kona Dam, another project under the Damodar Valley Corporation, but is separate from Thilaiya project. Soran Rekha River flows mainly through Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha. Hydroelectric project like Chandi Dam are on this river, not Thilaiya. Barakar River, the Tilaiya hydroelectric project is built on the Barakar River, which is majorly tributary of the Damodar River. It was the first multi-purpose river valley project of independent India and is operated by the Damodar Valley Corporation. The Tilaiya hydroelectric project in Jharkhand is established on the Barakar River. The Tilaiya Dam, which included the hydroelectric project, was the first multi-purpose dam built by the Damodar Valley Corporation in Jharkhand. It is located in Kodama district and was inaugurated in 1953. The dam spans the Barakar River, a significant tributary of the Damodar River in eastern India. Tilaiya Dam was constructed as part of the first phase of 4 DVC dams with the primary goal of flood control, irrigation, and hydroelectric power generation. The hydroelectric plant at Tilaiya has a generation capacity of 22 megawatt units. The Damodar Valley area, including the Barakar River, was prone to devastating floods, which prompted the development of dams such as Tilaiya to manage water resources effectively. Question 49. Which of the following pair is not correct regarding the river flowing in Jharkhand and their places of origin? तो शंख रिवर तिरकुट ये गलत है और सब सही है. स्वर्ण रेखा रिवर Tikratoli. Swarnarekha River originate near Nagari village close to Tikratori hills on the Ranchi Plateau, Jharkhand, therefore linking Swarnarekha with Tikratoli is correct. Barakar River north the Chota Nagpur. The Barakar River originate from Hazaribagh Plateau, which is the part of North Chota Nagpur Plateau. South Koyal River, Chota Nagpur. The South Koyal River originate near Nagari village in Ranchi district on the Chota Nagpur Plateau, correct. Sank River Tirikut. The Sank River originates near Lupungat village in Gumla district located on Chota Nagpur Plateau. Tirikut hills are associated with the origin of Mayurakshi River, not the Sank. Hundru Fall, Suvarnarekha River. Hundru Fall is located on the Suvarnarekha River. Jonha Fall, Rarhu River. Jonha Fall, Gautam Dhara, situated in Ranchi, falls on Raru River, locally spelled as Raru. Dasong Fall, Karachi, Kachi River. Dasong Fall is located in Simdega district. It is on Karachi. Kachi River, tributary in Jharkhand. Lod Fall, Barakar River. Lod Fall, Budha Fall, situated in Latehar district. Lod Budha, Karg originated from Chota Nagpur Plateau, but it flows on the Budha Lod River, not the Barakar River. Question 50. In which year did the Jatra Tana Bhagat start the Sudhi movement? 1914. Jatra Tana Bhagat started the Tana Bhagat movement in 1914 in the Chota Nagpur region. The Sudhi purification movement was part of the initial phase of its movement. It focused on the religious and social reforms such as giving up liquor, meat, and animal sacrifices, abandoning superstitions, adopting a disciplined moral life, later aligning with the Gandhian ideals. Jatra Tana Bhagat movement started in the 19 April 19 14. The Thana Bhagat movement, also known as the Dikshit movement, was a tribal movement in Chota Nagpur Plateau, present Jharkhand, initiated by Jatra Bhagat along with the Turiya Bhagat. It was primarily a socio-religious and political uprising of the Urao tribe aimed at opposing exploitative practice by local jamindars. British imposed tax and desirable social practices within the community. Initially rooted in religious reform, the movement gradually took on political dimension, advocating for non-violent self-governance and civil disobedience in alignment with Gandhian principles after 1920. The announcement and mobilization of movement were based on Jatra Bhagat's declaration that he had received a divine vision from the Urao deity Dharmesh, instructing him to reform religious and social practices. तो हमने देखा क्वेश्चन 30 से 50, 25 से 50। अब हम देखेंगे 50 से 75 अगला वीडियो। तब तक के लिए जय हिंद, जय भारत, वंदे मातरम, जय